President Bola Tinubu's electoral triumph in the February 25 polls has been upheld by the Presidential Election Petition Court. The court dismissed 3 petitions challenging his victory, one by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, another by Labour Party's presidential candidate Peter Obi, and the third by the Allied People's Movement. These petitions were deemed to lack merit. However, both the Labour Party and the PDP have expressed their intention to appeal the judgment.
Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party and Peter Obi of the Labour Party, 2 men with a chance to pull an upset, had approached the Presidential Election Petition Court seeking to cancel the results of the election and have a rerun, citing a number of grounds. But in Judgment Day, there were the notable absentees in the courtroom, which had in attendance party chieftains including Vice President Kashim Shettima, who were present to witness proceedings. Substantial non-compliance with the Electoral Act, alleged corrupt practices, and overvoting certificate forgery allegations against Tinubu is forfeiture of $460,000 over alleged drug case and dual citizenship, the aspect of his not securing 25% of votes in the FCT, among other grounds that both men sought to nullify Tinubu's electoral victory. In its judgment, the court stated that Atiku and Obi failed to discharge the burden of proof by failing to state the specific polling units where electoral irregularities and overvoting, including multiple thumb printing, occurred. The court stated that the electoral body, INEC, isn't under any legal compulsion to collate results by electronic means, as such falls within its discretionary powers. It also stated that Atiku and Obi failed to prove their allegations of certificate forgery, while stating that the case of alleged forfeiture in a drug case was a civil case, one which Tinubu was never prosecuted, convicted, or sentenced. In dismissing the case on 25% votes in the FCT, the court maintained that the FCT is like one of the 36 states of the Federation without any special status. On those grounds, the court dismissed the petitions for lacking in merits. The court had earlier dismissed the petition of Allied People's Movement, which was hinged on the multiple nomination against Kashim Shettima. With this leg of litigation now over, the petitioners are yet to decide whether they would head to the Supreme Court or not. But the Labour Party has, in a preliminary statement, condemned the outcome of the judgment, saying that its lawyers are reviewing the situation on the next steps to take. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has welcomed the judgment of the tribunal, in quotes, with an intense sense of solemn responsibility and preparedness to serve all Nigerians, irrespective of all diverse political persuasions, faith, and tribal identities. President Tinubu, in a statement, urged, in quote, valiant challengers to inspire their supporters in the trust that the spirit of patriotism will now and forever be elevated above partisan considerations, manifesting into support for a government to improve the livelihood of all Nigerians, end of quote.
Well, the Director General of the Peter Obi Presidential Campaign organization, Akin Osuntokun, joins us now to speak on the judgment of the Election Petition Tribunal affirming Tinubu's win and which parts of the judgment the party disagrees with. Good to have you on Arise News. Thanks for joining us on Newsday.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, it seems obvious that the party would disagree with most of what went on, which is why they will be taking, you all will be taking the case to the Supreme Court. But I wanted to discuss some of the challenges that were quite glaring during the course of the proceedings. The length of time it takes to get evidence. Obviously, the tribunal is a time-bound situation, and it seemed that the Labour Party had quite a few challenges with how to file in their paperwork in time and to get witnesses that would pass the barrier of screening. Can you speak more about that to us for some of our viewers who aren't as well versed into how that all played out, in order for it to be a situation where they said that the case lacks merit?
Well, first let me correct I can see, is she still speaking? Right. The person who was introducing this segment said that the PDP and the Labour Party were yet to decide whether we are going to the Supreme Court or not. That is not correct. As a matter of fact, the intention to appeal the judgment was made immediately after the session. Not even a day after. So that is the case. Now, I don't want to take issues with the judges as such, because many of the things they were saying, were counterfactual. In other words, they say things that is not correct, that is inconsistent with the truth. My view of it all is that we're in a systemic crisis, and we are coming to terms with the implication of Nigeria as a failed state, on which all organs of government, are being equally affected by the virus or pathogen of corruption and the lack of discipline and so on. People were raising the issue that our supporters were intimidating the judiciary. First, of course, is that many of those people doing the intimidation had no connection with us. We did not give anybody directive to go and indulge in the intimidation of the judiciary. But the more pertinent question is whether the judges themselves of the Court of Appeal, whether they did not deserve to be intimidated, whether there was no reason to question, not to take their integrity or the integrity of their judgment for granted. And of course, I have no more, the evidence of what I'm saying, or the supporting logic, was provided by none other than the former President Court of Appeal, whose husband, Senator Adamu Bukachua, told everybody, to the hearing of all Nigerians and the international community, that he was in the habit of influencing the decisions and judgments of his wife, in relation to his colleagues at the Senate chambers. Well, if you could do that, if you can say, no, if your spouse, there is no greater authentic evidence you can get than a spouse who is saying this is what we do, right? So who are we to not to take that into cognizance? And if that is the truth, will you take it for granted that the judges so affected in this Court of Appeal take it for granted that, look, they will do what is correct, they will act, without prejudice? Well, unfortunately, their former president, the former president of the Court of Appeal, she just resigned, she just left a few months ago, right? Had given us an indication as to the conduct or the behavior of the court under her. But for that matter, even the president himself did accept that the judiciary is corrupt, from what he said in a statement that, look, do you expect your judges to live in squalor and not be corrupt? So allegations of corruption levied against the judiciary, directly or indirectly, they have very square legs to stand upon. We may question the tactics of President Buhari. When he sent, security forces to barge into the houses of Supreme Court judges some years ago, they uncovered tons of money, different currencies. So there is no basis for it's an unmerited righteous indignation to say that we are angry, as if there is no justification for people taking that position against you. But as I said, more importantly is that the implication of Nigeria as a failed state, as a country that tops the charts of full Transparency International's index of corruption, the implication of that is that you don't expect anybody, if a country tops regularly the table of the most corrupt country in the world, why should you not accept, or you have any difficulty in accepting that, of course, the judiciary is equally affected? The judiciary is typically Nigerian, and when we're talking about the fact that Nigeria is sick, if Nigeria is sick and corrupt, of course, that means that the organs of government are the same. And of course, the countenance of the judges when they were delivering the judgment was unfortunate. It was like something that you call bole kaja, as if they are not mediators, as if they are combatants. They adopted the position, the partisan position of the other, the other legal team present in the legal team. On the basis of that, start firing, personalizing the statement that witnesses give. One judge was saying that the witness had the temerity and audacity to say so and so. I mean, it was disgraceful, Several times I was there, when I could no longer stomach many of what they were saying. I wanted to stand up and go, but we had to endure it all through the case. So you see, where we go from here, I don't know. The executive, the legislature, and now the judiciary are obviously in crisis.
Well,
where we go from here, what we do about it is what I don't know.
No, thank you very much for that. I would like you to react, to a statement from the FCT Minister, Nyesom Wike, who seems a bit baffled, that Mr. Peter Obi is accusing or is implying that the judiciary is corrupt. According to him, the judiciary was right when Mr. Peter Obi reclaimed his mandate as the governor of Anambra State. But it seems that now that he's lost at the tribunal, the judiciary is wrong. What's your take on that?
Well, how many years was it ago that Peter Obi left as governor? Almost 10 years ago or thereabout. The judiciary at that time, of course, obviously, in qualitative terms, in quality, is better than the one that we have today. It's not as if what you are talking about didn't occur yesterday, day before yesterday, it occurred years ago. Right, and as I said, the prelude to what brought about these doubts about the Nigerian judiciary, that are weeks old. There was a prelude to what happened. It wasn't as a fact. As at the time judgment was given in favor of Peter Obi as governor, as I said, how many years ago was that? Well, I could not recall any season that recorded this kind of prelude to the judgment that we had this year, in which the president of the Court of Appeal, who had just resigned or left up, retired, right, was being, her husband was telling us, whose husband was telling us that, look, my wife used to do this and that. Can you compare that to the prelude to when judgment was given in favor of Peter Obi? These are the kind of things that, frankly speaking, baffles me. Of course, I don't know. Look, Port Harcourt, Rivers State, I'm surprised that the panel said there was no evidence tendered in the mutilation of resort outright. The state guilty, most guilty in that respect is Rivers State, right? And there are many evidence in support of that. Some of it had been actually been shown by people appearing in television appearances. I can readily recall that of Atedo Peter's side, where he was displaying the result sheets on the, So again, I find it peculiar that the court is saying that no evidence was tendered in terms of of the allegation of rigging at the polling centers. So you see, I said, look, that is the logic of Wike for you. I'm not, as I challenge anybody to come back to go back and do the research and tell us whether in the run-up to the judgment given by the judges in favor of Obi was similar to what we have today. And I've told you the most consequential, if it were in any country, in the United States, any flight, the judiciary, what will have happened to the judiciary is best left to the imagination. That a senator husband of a president of a court of appeal, was saying that this is what he does for his wife. Well, yeah. Have they sued him? Mr.
Osuntokun,
did they take him to court?
Allow us to interrupt you for the sake of time, Mr. Osuntokun. We don't have that much time. You have gone over the fact, and we do remember the story. It's quite unfortunate. But this was what I was trying to ask you at the beginning of our interview. The processes in court. The challenges that you have, you were just speaking of the fact that, there was evidence presented, it was thrown out, but how can the judiciary make that pipeline more efficient for plaintiffs, other individuals, to get access to information and documents from INEC, et cetera, in a reasonable amount of time that wouldn't be seen as sabotage? And also, there's a large discussion going on about the burden of proof. It seems that some are under the opinion that it should be reviewed, seeing that currently the burden of proof is a bit of an uphill battle. The winning party has to prove that every vote, should it not be more along the lines that the winning party should prove every vote that they have, rather than the losing party saying these are the amount of votes we didn't have, seeing as how that's very hard to prove. So I'm talking about the burden of proof and which side it should actually fall on, in your opinion.
Well, there is the issue of the burden of proof you are talking about. Look, the judges practically assumed the position of INEC. They found INEC infallible, that there was nothing INEC did that was wrong, including this presentation of evidences, right? This is the electoral agency in possession of 4 relevant documents. It's supposed to be independent. In other words, not partial. It's supposed to act with independence and straightforwardness in matters like this. And then you ask the INEC, that electoral agency, okay, give us these results, because more than any of us, your own custody can be relied up, we'll do that. So look, what you are asking, right? I don't see too much relevance to what is going on. What is going on is the behavior of high public officials in Nigeria, including in all the 3 organs of government. People talk with impunity. I wish that the video recording of the judges when they were giving their judgments could be replayed back to Nigeria, so that we know what we are confronting here. Judges assuming partisan distemper, being very angry. Someone saying that you had the audacity and temerity to say that this is the truth or this is not what? So I'm sorry, it is not the amendment, but let us also make the fact, which I recognize. We have an unusual situation, of course, maybe with the presidential candidate, that there are so many grounds for disqualification or nullification of the election. So out of the several, maybe 10 or several grounds of seeking disqualification or nullification of government, the judges are under duress to ensure that none of those grounds, is deemed, as valid. Because if just one of those grounds stands, it automatically, disqualifies the president. So they were acting against the duress of having to justify the fact that all those grounds of petition that we brought, all of them were wrong. That is counterintuitive. But, they're under, because if just one of those grounds succeeds, that is the end of the presidential declaration of Tinubu as president. So they were also acting against on that duress. But as I said, what we need more is behavioral change. It's not something. Nigeria has gotten to a stage in which you cannot isolate any institution or organs of government for remedial action. It has to be total, right? It's a behavior that has caught on across board. The DSS, they will tell you a lie that people want to riot, that people want to protest. They issued a comprehensive statement in which they were making all these allegations. People say we're preemptive, but that is lie. It's another word for lying, right? Don't forget also that the former judge of the Supreme Court, Mrs. Odili, chose a few days before the election to give an address that directly speaks to that judgment, and was assuming the posture of somebody who is already been declared the winner. Chauvinistic, accusation of, harassing people that they have been, more or less the same stanza that the court subsequently adopted. The same attitude of speaking from a position of extreme partisanship, telling us to take it or shove it, very dismissive, argument. Who are you to query me? Who are you to ask me to explain myself? How dare you do this and dare you do that? As if we are servants, as if they are not public servants who are meant to serve Nigeria equally. You don't talk down on people the way that the judgment they gave. You don't talk down on people. And as I said, on what basis? On what basis should we presume their righteous indignation? As I told you, they are their own president of the Court of Appeal. Where those judges are, their own presiding officer was implicated in corruption just some weeks ago. So what is it? What are we talking about? Right? That you want to assume on the basis of unmerited righteous indignation. But as I said, whether ridiculous or not, they have to find reasons for all those grounds on which you petition, inadmissible or whatever language you want to give. So they are under, but you ask yourself, it is counterintuitive. It's not logical for me to believe that of the 10 or so grants that you are seeking a judgment, all of them fail to make any sense or merit. But here is the problem. If just one of it succeeds, that is the end of Tinubu's declaration as president. So these were the issues they faced, and then they were trying to use this transferred aggression, on people, on the people. It's not me. I was not the one who asked them to do a job for me. I didn't ask them to do anything for me. But of course, as I said, you can extrapolate from their behavior why they are so partisan.
We're almost out of time, so please allow me.
I can't hear you.
I said we're almost out of time, so I just want to ask you this question. There's also been some controversy over the APC watermark found on the certified true copy of the tribunal's judgment. I would like you to react to that, especially the explanation given by the APC team.
Well, I personally am satisfied with the explanation that what the APC tendered, the documents that they tendered and that was admitted as exhibits, by the judges, formed part of the documents that they gathered. So I don't think that anybody will be that stupid, right? Without daring, to use the letterhead or whatever of somebody in judgment. I think I'm satisfied with the explanation that they made. I mean, that's my own honest truth. I don't think they will get to that stage, or maybe of total imbecility, total imbecile.
All right, Mr. Osuntokun.
Or arrogantly, dismissive, and then up to the point of, allowing the letterhead of the president's lawyers to appear in their own judgment. I'm satisfied with the explanation that was given, that which was parts of the documents that the APC itself tendered.
Well, all right then.
I mean, I'm open to whatever.
All right. Well, that is all the time we have with you this afternoon. Director General for the Peter Obi Presidential Campaign Organization, Mr. Akin Osuntokun. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.